University, to the Edmund A. Walsh School of Foreign Service, to MSFS. As you know, MSFS seeks to prepare people to be creative leaders in service to the world. Well, let me welcome you all to this wonderful day of the open house for MSFS. We have arranged perfect weather for you. In MSFS, the weather is always perfect. I just want to tell you why I think this is a program you ought to think seriously about and, in fact, sign up for, and, of course, send your deposit. First of all, the program is in Washington, D.C. For those of you who are interested in foreign policy, international relations, international development, there really is no better place to be. I'm sounding chauvinistic, both from the point of view of the city and from the point of view of the country, but really I think, without trying to be that, this is the city with the most resources on the issues that I just mentioned. This is the most intellectually vibrant city for policy discussions. And this university is, I think, one of the most intellectually vibrant universities, perhaps the most in Washington, because it is a university. We have a universe of knowledge and activities going on here. So that if you happen to wake up one morning and your suppressed interest in Renaissance sacred music has suddenly arisen, this is the place to be. You can probably find a course, and you can certainly indulge it at one or another of the wonderful venues for hearing such music. That happens to be one of my passions as well. And the cathedral does the wonderful stuff that you would want to hear. There are other things you can find it in Washington without the hassle. I don't mean to slam New York, but without the hassle of the big cities. Anyway, the resources you're interested in are here. So that's number one. Number two, I want to tell you a little bit about our faculty. You'll meet some of them today, and these are some of the folks you'll meet here, and the folks you probably have already met associated with the program or will meet, are some, I think, of the most distinguished faculty anywhere that you can find in the field of international relations broadly defined. And there are a couple of different kinds of faculty that I think you want to take note of. We have distinguished practitioners, people whose names you're very familiar with, Madeleine Albright, for example, Senator Chuck Hagel, and others who come to Georgetown, stay, teach, and are involved in our activities. We have more traditional scholars, people whose names are quite prominent in the field of international relations, some of whose materials you have read or will read if you come here. But then what we're developing, and I think this is really exciting, is a group of faculty who have both. I happen to think I'm one of those. I'm a scholar, but I'm also a practitioner. And to pull those two things together, I think, is a really exciting set of qualities for a professor to have. And I think our students, undergraduate and graduate, really appreciate that. We can talk about international politics, international development, whatever you want, from an insider's point of view. And we can talk about it from a scholar's point of view. And just to give you an example, Victor Cha, whom you're going to be seeing later this morning, is really a traditional scholar with a great deal of well-received publications, an expert on Korea and the Far East. He also spent 2 years in the National Security Council. Cumbie, an economist, spent several years in the Treasury. So you've got a faculty here that can bring together the world you want to join and the world that many of us need to learn from, the people who can step back and give you the sort of scholarly and analytical approach to international relations, development, whatever you're interested in. And I want to add, too, that part of the things that come with a faculty that has practitioner experience is access. Access to people in town, access to jobs. Program is a small program. A relatively small program compared to the larger master's degrees programs you might be looking at or that are out there. And what that creates, I think, is a feeling of family. I find it frustrating as a professor teaching in the program because I can't get students to criticize one another. It just wouldn't happen. This is not business school. And that's a good sign of the kind of relationships that get established. Now, Tony, you know what's coming.
Yes, I do.
Actually, a lot of families come out of this program. We cannot guarantee you a husband or a wife. But look to your right, look to your left. At least that's what I used to say, and I think probably Tony does too, at the very beginning of the fall. You may be married one day. And This is a full-service program. I was asked by 2 students in the past to preside at their wedding. 2 students got together in the program. It is something, it was a favor I did to the students. It's a favor I think, well, I can't say anybody would do that kind of a favor, but I think we're there for the students. I've made lifelong friends with the students I've had in my classes and the students I got to know when I was in Tony's position. And so it's really an honor for me to say to you, welcome. I hope you're going to find this day energetic and enthusiasm creating. I hope you will make the decision to come and be with us next year and the following year. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful visit here. Thank you very much.
The purpose of this panel is really to do 2 things. One is to substantively talk a little bit about the future of the international system and changes that these 3 distinguished people see in the international system, but also to be able to talk about those developments in the international system from the perspective of their discipline, where they think the international system is going, the challenges they see, the kind of challenges you will have to deal with both in the program and in the subsequent careers after the program, the kind of challenges you will have to deal with from the perspective of their discipline. So if you don't object, may I start with historians, and then move to political scientists, and then the economists will give us the final answer.
To it, a structure to it, a meaning to it. And a lot of what historians do is deal with that tension between being true to the facts and creating a larger interpretation or meaning or significance to the facts they find. And part of what we'll do in this course is exactly that. We'll examine the facts, but also what the facts mean.
I teach the course MSFS 510, which is the International Relations Theory and Practice course. It's something that you would all be taking, I guess, in their first semester if you were to come here. And essentially what we do in this class is we try to show how international relations theory is helpful for having us understand what's happening in international relations and policy today and how we think about the future. At first you may think, how are these 2 things related? If you talk about these concepts like anarchy and these other things in international relations, how does that matter in the policy world? And I think it really does. And what we try to teach is a way of thinking in this course that would help you if you were actually doing policy. Let me just give you one example. And it actually follows very well from Professor Reardon Anderson's points. You know, one of the biggest questions that we wrestle with in international relations today, you know, both in the U.S. government, governments around the world, and in the classroom, the single most important unanswered question in international relations today is probably how the international system will accommodate the rise of China. Right? Single most important unanswered question today, because how that turns out is going to affect the way we think about international relations for the next generation. Why do I say that? All of our theories and all of the textbooks that have been written about international relations up until this point have been based on what happened from 1945 right, to 1990. Essentially, every theory that every professor wrote, every book that students, an article that students read, was all centered on the way we believed states interacted as a result of the Cold War. So in that sense, how China's rise turns out is going to affect the way we write and think about international relations in the future. And this is an unanswered question. We do not know the answer to this question. Right, so people in the government, where I used to work in the National Security Council, we worry about questions like this. People in policy planning and State Department worry about this. Right, people in the classroom think about this. So how would we think about this in international relations? Well, one of the ways to think about it is through one lens, which we call offensive realism.
It's kind of an interesting paradox that economics is largely focused on the study of markets. How do individuals function in markets? It's generally an examination of resource allocation and gains and losses, who benefits, who loses from certain changes. But it's really a set of institutional rules that is not it's not really formalized. There's much of economics is spent talking about how individuals interact in a way that each is, rather than this invisible hand, each seeking to advance his or her own self-interest, and how those kinds of interactions have implications for the larger social welfare.
We have a very diverse student body, and we really take that to heart and treat each of you as an individual. We are very proud of the diverse interests that you have and the diverse career interests as well.
One of the things we certainly hope to do today is get to know you a little bit better, and over the course of your career here at Georgetown, should you make the fine choice to choose Georgetown, is to get to know you and you us so that we can help serve your career needs.
What we do is we look at what are the, you're getting your degree, you're studying, but what are the skill sets you need to really be marketable and really be able to get yourself the job you want when you're out of here. And what I do is look at those skills and build them into workshops or different programs that will help you have the opportunity to not only market those skills but further develop the skills.
Okay.
Another hand.
Yes, there is. Sure. Anybody missing a handout? Okay. All right. All right. Okay.
Albright, Lori Fitzpiccato, take a class with Carol Lancaster.
How consulting skills, specific tools, stakeholder analysis kinds of tools, sometimes financial tools, proposal development skills, very specific operational skills to be successful in that environment. And finally, you will have some in-depth knowledge of a particular sector that is of interest to you, and that's of sort of your choosing, microfinance or whatever it is